On January 15, 1919, a seemingly ordinary winter day in Boston's North End was shattered. Just after noon, residents heard a deep rumble, a sound like distant thunder. Moments later, a terrifying sight emerged from the industrial landscape. A colossal wave of dark, viscous molasses, estimated to be 25 feet high, surged through the streets. It moved with astonishing speed, tearing through the urban fabric at an estimated 35 miles per hour. The air filled with a sickening, sweet aroma. This was no natural disaster, but a man-made catastrophe. The wave originated from a massive storage tank owned by the Purity Distilling Company. This tank held an immense quantity of molasses, destined for industrial alcohol production. The Purity Distilling Company's tank was a colossal structure, standing 50 feet tall and 90 feet in diameter. It was designed to hold over 2.3 million gallons of molasses. This sweet syrup was a key ingredient for producing industrial alcohol, which was then used to make munitions. The tank was situated in a densely populated area of Boston's North End. It was surrounded by homes, businesses, and a busy elevated train line. Its sheer size and proximity to residential areas made it a potential hazard. Concerns about the tank's safety had been raised even before its construction was completed. Local residents reported leaks and structural issues, but these warnings were largely ignored by the company. The tank was reportedly rushed into service. At approximately 12:30 p.m., the unthinkable happened. The massive steel tank suddenly ruptured with a deafening roar. Witnesses described a sound like a cannon shot or an explosion. The ground trembled violently as the tank disintegrated. The exact cause of the rupture remains a subject of historical debate. Factors cited include poor construction, the tank's thin steel walls, and fluctuating temperatures. The cold January air combined with warmer molasses inside may have contributed to the structural stress. Some theories suggest that fermentation within the tank produced carbon dioxide, increasing internal pressure. Regardless of the precise trigger, the company's negligence in its construction and maintenance was a significant contributing factor. The tank had never been properly tested with water before being filled with molasses. When the tank burst, the immense volume of molasses was unleashed with incredible force. It formed a powerful dark brown wave that swept through the neighborhood. Everything in its path was instantly overwhelmed. Wooden homes were splintered and torn from their foundations. Buildings were crushed, and the elevated train tracks were dislodged. The sheer weight and stickiness of the molasses made escape nearly impossible for those caught in its flow. Horses pulling carts were swept off their feet, struggling in the thick, suffocating tide. People found themselves trapped, unable to move through the dense, sticky liquid. The scene was one of utter chaos and terror. The immediate aftermath was horrific. 21 people lost their lives, either drowned, crushed, or suffocated by the molasses. Over 150 others were injured, suffering from broken bones, internal injuries, and severe burns from the cold, viscous liquid. First responders, including police, firefighters, and even sailors from a nearby naval vessel, rushed to the scene. However, rescue efforts were incredibly challenging. The molasses was waist-deep in many areas, making movement difficult and dangerous. Rescuers had to wade through the sticky mess, often pulling victims from the suffocating depths. The cold molasses quickly solidified, trapping people in debris. It was a grim and arduous task, made worse by the bizarre nature of the disaster. The cleanup operation was an unprecedented undertaking. The streets of the North End were submerged in molasses, sometimes several feet deep. The sticky residue clung to everything: buildings, cobblestones, and even the elevated train tracks. Fire hoses were used to spray salt water from Boston Harbor onto the streets, but this only diluted the problem. The molasses mixed with dirt and debris, creating an even more intractable sludge. It seeped into basements and drains. The cleanup effort lasted for weeks, involving hundreds of workers. Even after the bulk of the molasses was removed, the sweet, sickly smell lingered in the neighborhood for months, and some residents claimed it persisted for decades. The harbor itself turned brown from the runoff. In the wake of the disaster, numerous lawsuits were filed against the United States Industrial Alcohol Company, Purity Distilling's parent company. The legal battle lasted for years, involving extensive investigations and testimonies. It was one of the longest and most complex civil cases in Massachusetts history. Ultimately, the company was found liable for the disaster. The court determined that the tank had been poorly constructed and inadequately tested. The ruling set a precedent for corporate responsibility in industrial accidents. The Great Molasses Flood led to significant changes in building codes and industrial safety regulations. It highlighted the need for stricter oversight of large industrial structures, particularly those containing hazardous materials. The tragedy forced companies to prioritize public safety. The Great Molasses Flood remains one of the strangest and most tragic industrial accidents in American history. Its surreal nature makes it almost unbelievable, a bizarre footnote in Boston's rich past. It serves as a stark reminder of the unexpected dangers that can arise from industrial operations. The story of the molasses flood continues to fascinate and horrify. It is a testament to the destructive power of seemingly innocuous substances when mishandled. The memory of that sticky, deadly wave is etched into the history of Boston's North End.